What do video games, global tech, travel documentaries, and a few personal plot twists have in common? Henry Woodman. In this episode, I sit down with Henry to explore how reinvention, resilience, and a little bit of risk-taking can shape not just your business, but your life. From launching Pac-Man and laundromats to building an 8-figure business and chasing creative dreams, Henry's story is a masterclass in starting over and betting on yourself. Whether you're starting something new, rebuilding after a setback, or just feeling stuck, this episode is packed with insight, laughs, and a permission to pivot. Hey, friends. We're here talking about reinventing yourself and your business. So I'm an entrepreneur at my core. In the third grade, I talk about this in my book a little bit, but in the third grade, as I got off the bus and more kids started following me home. Trust me, this is crazy, but I would charge them 25 cents to go see my dad's Playboy in his bathroom. And trust me, 25 cents went a long way when at 7-Eleven, candy was like 1 cent or 5 cents or three now and laters for 5 cents back in 1980. So it was a windfall, but I've had some not so great windfalls and, started a business during a downturn in the economy in 2008. And then I started a photography business, which I had the skills and my pictures were, rocking, but I didn't pursue it as like I should have. And so it just went wah, wah, wah. But my guest today, Henry Woodman, caught my attention because he carries that same entrepreneur spirit. And through maybe some not so, great hit some of his ventures may not have gone as planned. He keeps a sense of humor and his entrepreneur spirit, and he keeps pushing through. And so he's here not only just to motivate us that you can do it, but that he has done it. He has a great story. So Henry, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about when your entrepreneurial spirit started? And if you're willing to share your story, that would be awesome.
Wow. Thank you, Jessica. Great to hear. And, it did not start with people following me off the bus. That was kind of, I didn't know where that was going at the beginning. Sorry. Thank you for clarifying that. I would have followed you for a, peek at the Playboys back in the day.
Kids, not adults, by the way.
No, I'm with you. Mine was somewhat similar. I mean, I was 13 years old. I was in junior high. I was a swimmer at the time. So I went to Mexico for a swimming meet. I came back and I had a switchblade. And I thought it was cool, so I was showing it off in school. And of course, all the kids were like, that is so cool. I want one, right? So I get on a plane. I got a ticket to go to Mexico City as a 13-year-old by myself, go to Mexico City, pick up a couple of boxes of switchblades. Mind you, this is 1973, and you could get on a plane with shit like that. So I get on a plane with boxes
and I had
of
porn.
switchblades.
It's not so different.
Yeah.
So
and I
had
sell
porn and
them to my friends. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
right.
I'm not even going to comment about the differences. Anyway, make a long story short, I would sell the switchblades to my friends at school, really not so much as an entrepreneurial journey to make money, but just because I wanted to be cool, and that would get me in with the cool kids. And that was the extent of the start. I didn't really, to be honest with you, think much about entrepreneurship. I just did things because, I was somewhat hedonistic or opportunistic. I was like you, I was into photography as a young kid, and I put a dark room in my bathroom, and then I put flyers in all of my neighbors' mailboxes and said, pet portraits. I'll go over and take a picture of your pet, and I'll develop it in my dark room, and, get a couple of bucks. It's kind of a hobby. It's fun, and I make a little bit of money, right? I think the real sort of inkling came when I was in college, and I'm sitting in a laundromat with a pocket full of quarters. I'm addicted to Pac-Man. And I don't want to study. And I'm thinking, man, this place needs a video game. This needs a Pac-Man, right? And so what do? I call every laundromat in Tucson. They had the yellow pages back then. And I asked them if they have a video game machine. And they'd say no. And eventually I started asking, well, would you like one? Thinking, let's share the revenue, right? And so I went to an auction. At the time they had these video game parlors in malls, and in the back of the room, there were these machines that they never used. They were outdated or nobody liked them. So they'd sell them at auction. I bought one at auction with money from school, which I shouldn't have done, but I did anyway. And I put it in a laundromat, and a couple of months later, it paid itself back, and I bought some more. So there it was. I would get these used, outdated, video machines, put them in laundromats. I had a captive audience, people sitting there with a pocket full of quarters, nothing to do, having to be there for 2 hours or so to do their laundry. And so that was the other business. And the irony is I did it for myself, hedonistically. But every time I'd go to a laundromat and somebody was playing the machine, because I wanted to get the money out, I had to wait. I couldn't even play my own machine because I didn't want to take away from my profit. Right. So that was the
That's
journey
crazy.
till college.
So, okay, so I know there's a lot of people, moms that are out there that are they think that there's more out there than what they're doing, and maybe they have an idea. I mean, I also started like making hair bows for my kids. Thought I'd do something with that. I mean, sometimes I have an idea, but I don't always follow through with it. But how do people start from scratch? Or tell me a time when maybe you started something you've done recently where you started it from scratch, and um thoughts about that. I mean, how does somebody get started when they want to start? They have an idea maybe, but they're just too nervous, or where could they go for resource? Or how did you move forward in your last venture that you did?
So I'll start with the first, and then I'll answer the last question.
Okay.
How to get started really is, it's a matter of happenstance in most part. You happen to be at a place and time where you see there might be a problem, or there's an issue that you think you can solve or do better, right? So if you say, listen, this is terrible, man. Somebody should do something. Maybe that somebody is you, right? And if it's a problem for you, it's a good chance that it's a problem for others as well. Now, starting a business is incredibly challenging because it requires a lot of discipline. It requires an understanding of the processes and the procedures. And to be honest with you, most of the things I did were sort of a, one-handed guy doing his things. And the video game machines didn't require a lot of maintenance. I'd pick up the money. I'd, go to a thing and come a couple of days later and pick up the money. Big deal. Now, when you're running a legitimate sort of ongoing concern, it requires structure, right? People will say things like, "Oh, you gotta hire the best people," and you're like, "I can't even afford the best people. What does that mean?" You're wearing multiple hats. At the end of the day, my best advice is listen to podcasts, read books. I was handed a book back early in the day of my last company called Traction by Gino Wickman, which is Get a Grip on Your Business. And people would say to me, you got to get the right people and you got to get the KPIs. And I'm thinking, I don't even know what the KPIs are. I can't afford the people vision. I just want to I don't want to fail. Right. I
Right.
don't know what a vision is. So this book helped clear and articulate, so you can understand what all this stuff means. How do you implement it? What does it do? And KPIs, and what's a scorecard? So it was amazing how that kind of light bulb moment went off after I read the book. And that to me helped me essentially create the foundation of the last business and grow it. And it really was, it was a tech company, and I can't write a line of code. I know nothing about tech. I just happen to be at a place in time where I'm like, wow, I didn't know that was a problem. Let me see what I can do to help, right? And listen, at the end of the day, people will say, "Oh, you were at the right place at the right time." And I said, "Yeah, but most of my life, I'm at the right place at the wrong time, or I'm at the wrong place at the right time." And you just keep hanging around or doing stuff and getting involved with things, and somewhere along the line, things will happen. It's hard to say, I just want to go out and start a business. What do I do? I don't know.
Right.
What do you like? Go out and do those things, right? And find things that are a problem in that field that you enjoy, right? Because otherwise, it's hard to manufacture that.
Yeah, you can also, I mean, there are, if you feel like you're still overwhelmed with the process, there are things you can look up online about franchises and other type. You could start with something small, like a business that somebody walks you through all the steps of the business. And you can be an entrepreneur that doesn't necessarily have to create that niche, but it does help if you, I mean, like my brother, he runs him and his friend out of college, they started a company where they built a niche in this in the medical field, in the healthcare industry, where they hire, I think if I get this right, he's probably going to kill me if I don't explain it correctly, but they hire nurses to go and explain to other nurses in the hospital how to use certain equipment that just came out. And so their nurses teach nurses and other medical professionals how to use certain syringe or how to twist this knob and all these weird little things that they found a niche for. And their company is called Novasight, and it's in San Diego. And they're like they won all these awards for being like the top company or top business, for young entrepreneurs. And but you don't have to create this niche. You can go online, and there are things like, I know you did laundromats. You can take like those little candy machines, and like they're not really big now, but they used to be, I guess, candy machines. I'm kind of dating myself. And you can turn those around, and that's a small thing that you and your kids can do together. They make money if you put them in the right spots, or Coke soda machines or vending machines and that type of stuff. There's a lot of things out there that you can go online and see. But I'd like to get back to, because even though let's say you get the idea and, you're all ready, to maybe dive in, what are some of the risks when you're trying to do this, that
Oh,
people have to understand when they're looking into starting a business on their own?
yeah. Well, the biggest risk obviously is failure. But let me go back to what you said because I agree with you. If you're younger and you don't have a lot to lose, let's say I fail, I sleep on my friend's house, a sofa. I sleep at
Yeah.
their house. If I'm older and I have a family and I have a mortgage and I have kids and I have responsibilities, it's a lot harder to imagine failing, right?
Yeah.
And the statistics clearly show most businesses fail, right? So arrogantly, you think, well, not me, I'm special, right? But the reality is that buying an existing business, if you know how to operate and create those, standards and processes, is a lot more. I mean, the statistics are a lot more on your side for succeeding, right? So I would seriously consider looking at some of those options in an area that you kind of know or that you like, or let's be honest, there are a lot of baby boomers who have small businesses that already have a client list, that
Oh
already
yeah.
have the infrastructure. And you can say, listen, I can't afford, $300 or $400,000 to buy your business. But what I will do is I will pay for your business with a little bit of a premium over time with your profits. Let's just say they make $100,000 a year in profit. And you say, I will give you 50,000 or $60,000 a year. You suck it up and you live on 40 plus whatever monies you can. And then after time, they're sort of an ongoing consultant, and they get paid their business in time. They get what they want for it. And so you essentially plug and play something that they've developed over years, and they just want to get out because they've been doing it for 20, 30 years. It's like plumbing or
Right.
electrician or lawnmower repair. It doesn't matter, right? But also, this is a really interesting time because of AI. You know, what is that going to do to the current workforce? And don't put yourself in a position, accounting and legal and marketing and stuff, that AI is going to hurt that industry in the coming years, right? But in answer to your question, in my case, I mean, let's look at the last business. First of all, I was in Chile producing game shows because I realized at the time that Chile had gone from a dictatorship to a democracy. I was producing travel films. I knew people in Chile. And I thought, wow, that new democracy, they have new television stations. They need content. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to pitch myself as an American producer, produce a game show, right? So I packaged a show, and within a couple of months, we were on the air with a show. A year later, I'm sitting in Chile, and they give me a CD-ROM, and it shows me this 360-degree tour, and I'm thinking, that is so cool. You don't have to travel around with 5 guys and 17 pieces of luggage. You can just take a camera and do a 360 and put it on the computer and see a up and down and all around anywhere in the world. And so I started a company doing that. And clients would say, how do we put this stuff? This is the mid 90s, mind you. How do we put this on this new World Wide Web thingy? I don't know. Send them a CD-ROM, right? Because that at the time we were giving them CD-ROMs to take to trade shows to promote. And I said, I don't know. Let me see what I can do to help. Which is where I realized that there is a problem in distributing photos to the online travel sites because that didn't exist before the internet. So that's where we morphed from, television production of game shows in Latin America to virtual production of travel to virtual tour distribution to, oh my God, photos are a problem too. I can help these guys and I have an in. So now you go to any travel site on the planet, you see photos of any hotel. they're probably coming from my servers or my old company because I sold that years ago. So that's kind of the idea where I would never have thought I would run a tech company. I knew nothing about it. I like the creative, I like the production. And all of a sudden, I'm like, well, let me see what I can do to help. I surround myself with people that know more than I do. And there's an expression, that thing that says you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Same concept. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room in the business, but you have to know a little bit about what these jobs do, what they have to, create, what your vision long term is, and then surround yourself with people that can get you there and that believe in that vision that you have.
I do want to touch on something that you talked about, and that's AI. Because I mean, I've been watching in the news, like just today or yesterday, they invested a lot. Our government is investing a lot into AI and increasing the energy that it takes, because AI takes just an absorbent amount of energy, and we were nowhere near what China is producing right now in the way of energy. But I was watching, and they were showing I mean, AI can be used in so many different ways. One, I saw a commercial where the guy was in real estate and he was taking a picture, doing something with his camera, and they're, intimating that, AI, they need it for their industry. And then I was watching, this fisherman, and he has a new boat, and the fisherman can, using AI, check the water temperatures, check a whole bunch of different things to try to find his fish. And so he's 75% more likely going to catch the fish he wants. And he's putting himself ahead of the game, which I don't know what that means for fishermen that are in contests and stuff like that. But, cause that's a little cheating, I think. But cheating in the way of business, no, I mean, AI is touching almost everything. And in fact, for my podcast, I rely on AI to help me put together my questions, my interview
Yeah.
questions. And I can do it very quickly and send it out to my guests and for a prep sheet for them to know, like, these are the things we're going to discuss. Although it never goes in the direction I want it to, because I'm like squirrel, so I'm always taking it somewhere
So
else.
listen, to your point, I'm gonna add to that. So I was talking. I coach and mentor some kids from time to time. So this kid's asking, "Oh, what do I do? What do I do?" And I said, listen, he's a finance kid, so finance is going to be disrupted by AI. And I said, but what you may want to do is what I said, find, let's say you like electricians and you go to local electricians in the area and you pick a couple of them that have been around and you present yourself to try to buy it. You buy one, you buy two, you buy three, let's say you buy 5 of them. But because of AI, because of your knowledge of the back end financials, you can consolidate their back end operations, and let's say they all have a book of lists, they're all making a couple $100,000 a year, but you consolidate it, you streamline the back end, you use AI and AI agents to be able to better market and send out the invoices and the maintenance of the back end. And now you've got AI helping you in a business that is probably not going to be disrupted by AI, because I need the electrician to physically come here in person, or the plumber, or the pool guy, or whoever it is that has a manual, kind of low margin business, but has to be there physically, right? It's a lot of those other things that would challenge me, let's call them the white collar stuff. And he would do the white collar stuff, but have the vans that he's acquired or the people that are doing it and continue doing that, right? Or she.
Yeah. You can actually ask AI how AI can help in different industries. I mean, go to Chat GPT or whatever thing you want and start researching about businesses and maybe how AI can retransform that business. And then there you go, you create your niche, and then you start something. You start researching. Okay, so here's the process that I took when I did my preschool business. I was a preschool teacher for many years. I also was a cocktail server. So I did them at the same time. But I would work
I hope
all
you didn't give cocktails to the
no.
kids, but that, yeah.
I'd work all day long and then have to go work at night for a few hours. It was terrible. But I had a lot of energy then. Not like I mean, I do have a lot of energy now, but I was super hyper when I was younger. So, so I had the preschool in my background. And then when we moved to Bakersfield from Palm Springs, my husband's like, okay, what do you want to do? So I started working at a preschool. And then I thought to myself, I can do the same thing at my house and make way more money. And so, and also I was in a neighborhood that needed a daycare. Well, the whole town. In fact, daycare is needed throughout all of United States. If you're looking for a business, daycare is the one. You can make good money. You get to color and paint with your kids, and it's just a fun thing to do, and you make good money doing it. If you want to be a mom, a daycare is like, I would say, the thing. But anyways, so my director at the time at the preschool I was working, she's like, you will never get it off the ground. And when somebody tells me no, I'm like, okay, for sure, I'm doing it now. Like legit, I quit, And I did do it, and I started it. And we had a 230 square foot little room, and I made it into like a real preschool room. I wasn't just going to let them play. We were going to do arts and crafts and learn curriculum, and we were going to make this a school. And so I started I had so many people wanting to be at my daycare from word of mouth. And I also learned that at the time, penny saver was a thing. And I used the penny saver, and I was able to get clients like all the time. I always was full. And so then I thought, man, I want to expand. So then I built onto my home. I built a 670 square foot room that had its own entrance and that had its own bathroom and was separate from my home, separated by French doors and my kitchen. And so then we went from seven or eight kids to 14 kids. And then when that grew, and again, I had 2 staff members that were helping me in the house. And then when I had kids stacked on top of each other. So one kid would go home at noon and another kid would come in at 12. And so I was just, I was doing really good. And so then I thought, I'm going to expand it to a church. So somebody was selling their business, and for $25,000, I bought her business. So that's something you could do, is you could buy somebody's business that's already up and running. But she didn't have any clients, and her schoolroom looked like trash. So I had to redo it all. And some of my kids decided to go there. And then some of the new kids, their infants, would come to my house. So then, anyways, long story short, how I got there was I had a neighbor came to my house and said, hey, I got a commercial business, our property it's about 10,000 square foot building, a 30,000 square foot play yard. And how would you like it? Like, just, it's yours if you want it. And I'll build the shell. It's like 4.2 million, and you fill in the insides and the play yard. And I'm like, I don't even have a degree. I don't know how to do business plan. I barely know what a profit and loss is, So I went online and I Googled it. And my first go at my my business plan was 42 pages long. And I learned, I'm like, okay, condense a little bit, condense it. And then it got to be about 21 pages, and I submitted it to SBA, and I got a loan. When you're a woman and you feel the need of something that is like super needed in the community, like daycare, SBA jumped all over that. And I got a loan for just under $700,000, built out the business. And I was selling the dirt lot, before we even broke ground, and then during all of construction, and started my business with 140 families on day 1. So that's what kind of takes to do something like what I did. You gotta really hustle. And when it comes to daycare, it isn't just the painting, it's also the selling of your business and giving them having value in what you're doing, and being able to show that value to somebody. So that's how I started mine. I just wanted to kind of get that out there, because I feel like it is a doable thing. If I could do it, man, anybody can do it. For any of you moms out there, if you ever want to just email me, I could walk you through it for sure. I guess I could be a coach too, because I could coach kids on how to do this. But so back to where we left off. I'm so sorry. I know I always get off on a tangent sometimes, but I just thought I wanted to share that there are different ways, and how you go about creating your business. You can Google it. There are YouTube videos. A lot of people will help you. You don't have to have a college degree to do it. Right? Am I right?
No, listen, you don't. A college degree is in large part foo-foo, but using AI as an example, somebody came and said, "Listen, is there a course out there that I can take to learn AI?" And I'm like, "Yeah, get ChatGPT and ask it to create a course for you, and set the parameters. Say, listen, I want a 14-day course. I want, 20 minutes a day and 15 minutes of homework, whatever it is that you want. And
Right.
it will do it. And say, and I also want to focus on this particular area, whether it's finance, whether it's legal, whether it's marketing, it doesn't matter. ChatGPT will create it for you. You don't have to pay an outside company to teach you
Right.
AI. GPT will teach you that. So keep in mind the power it has to tailor the things that you want for your needs, right?
You know what? In fact, if I now that I'm thinking now that you mentioned it, I could have gone to chat like now can go to Chat GPT and say, build me a business plan. I mean,
Well, yeah.
in some aspects, it won't give you everything you need, but it'll get you in the right direction, maybe even with like an outline. So,
Yeah, you have to be able to provide the basic elements to build the plan. You can't just say,
yeah.
"Write me a book." And say, "Okay, what on what?" I mean, give me the parameters, give me an outline, give me the characters, things like that. Sorry.
Oh, you're right. I mean, AI is really the new wave of the future, and if you're not jumping on board with it, I mean, and investing in it, I mean, put some stocks in that sucker. We did, and it's jumping up. It's doing really good. So think about it now. Don't wait till later because it'll be too late. Um, just, anyways, I kind of lost track where we were. Okay, so let me just say, I'm launching this podcast. It's new. And I feel like there's a little bit of like an imposter. Do you ever get that where there's like, I guess it's that imposter syndrome where, I'm so nervous when I'm doing this, because this is something new that, everybody else is doing. You think you can do it too, but it's not as easy as it looks to
Yeah.
do it. I
Well,
mean,
listen,
do you feel that in the
absolutely.
beginning?
Even today, I mean, everybody that says, "Oh, I'm really great," no, you're not. You're lucky, and you may have discipline, right? At the end of the day, yeah, imposter syndrome played a big part when I thought, who the hell, what am I? I mean, I have contracts with multi-billion-dollar companies, and who am I, right? And I
Right.
would sit there and have this global tech company thinking, geez, I don't know anything. I can't write. I mean, it seemed like, boy, am I a fraud, right? But the
Right.
reality is most people out there are in similar situations when you talk to them, right? So imposter syndrome is always a part of it. That thing, oh, fake it till you make it. Yeah, but you really have to go and dip your toe in. And you can't just say, look, I'm going to learn everything and then start. No, you learn along the way. For example, when I started my tech company, I did not know how to raise money, so I didn't. And I tell people, had I known and been smart enough to raise money, I probably would have. I would have spent it all and I would have bankrupted my company
Right.
because I wouldn't have
Yeah.
learned the hard lessons from bootstrapping and overcoming those obstacles. And that was part of the process. Not that every business can be bootstrapped. I mean, some of them are cash, money intensive and they need a lot of capital to start. But it depends on where you're going and what you're doing. But there's always creative ways and people to work with in order to get you what you want. Because now I see, I angel invest now and I see some of these startups and they've got these ridiculous valuations. And I'm thinking, how do you justify that kind of valuation? Well, and there's always some bullshit rationale, just like when you create a business plan and you always have the hockey stick up to the right and you're going to make a ton of money and it's going to, exponentially grow. But that's not the case for the majority of businesses. So, they have these outlandish beliefs. It's like you have to tether yourself to reality sometimes. And that's where I think it helps to get in, even if you're an apprentice or you're working in another business and a small business, I'm at. Big businesses that already have the processes in place and there's the structuring. Here's your duties and responsibilities. Follow these guidelines and you're good, right? No, you're going to have to learn and how is it we put this stuff together and how do we work together and how does this come and what does this all mean is really important in getting things off the ground.
You talked about angel investing, and I guess it's important also when you're an entrepreneur is to know when to pivot. When you're like, for me, my daughter was born with a heart condition, and the economy is going to the shitter, and I was injecting money into my own business, which I shouldn't. As a corporation, I shouldn't be doing this because I was putting my own family in financial hardship, but I had to learn that I needed at that time. And like you said, had I known what I know now, I would have learned possibly to save my business, possibly through an angel investor, or I would have done something different to hold on to it, to help me through the storm. But I ended up pivoting and selling it to the landowner, which I look at it now, I can't even drive down that street because it's like a gut punch to my heart,
Yeah.
because it was my baby that I nurtured from, just a tiny little seed. And now some guy is running my business using my contracts and policies. And, it was just is there a time when you know that, like, to cut and run or when to pivot? I mean, is there a clear picture? For me, it was just financially, but
Well, at the end of the day, the pivoting always comes with realization, like here I am producing game shows, and then they show me a virtual tour, and I go, oh, I could produce the 360s for the travel industry. Yeah. And then I give them CD-ROMs and they go, hey, how do we put this on this internet thingy? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me see what I can do to help. So one thing leads to another. I started World Travel Vision to produce virtual tours, and then we produced and distributed virtual tours. And then I changed the name of the company and bought out my partner and didn't pay myself for the better part of a year to build the technology, called it Ice
Mhm.
Portal. And now we're distributing the photos, or starting to distribute. I mean, it took us 20 years to build on this. I believed in the vision, but I didn't really know the suffering and the time it would take to get there. I literally had my house, a home equity line. I had my house on tilt, to pay for the employees and surviving. And many times I was days away from bankruptcy. And I would always joke, I said, I don't have a plan B. And if this doesn't work, my next question will be, do you want fries with that burger? So really a matter of, I
Ah,
was all in. I didn't know what else I would do, because I didn't think I could work for somebody else at that time. And so I got to be honest, I got lucky. I had the tenacity and the discipline to continue sucking through and building and building and building. And then, these are seeds you plant over time, and hopefully a few grow. And then as you start to gain momentum, more will grow. And that's just part of the process. A lot of people have this, you know, marketing mindset, or they've been marketed to, like, oh, build it and, I'll sell it for a gazillion dollars. Ugh, no, it doesn't always work that way. Most people
right.
don't get those. Like, you only hear of those select few in the news, and you think that it's all like that. And it's not,
Mm-mm.
right?
Can I ask you
So
a
it's got to
question?
be a well thought out plan. Yeah, of course. That's why you're here.
Sorry. I know there's like a lapse of time, so every time I interrupt you, it kind of pauses us. So, okay, so you said that, I only have a couple more questions. So you said that you're an angel investor. And so I know a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to start a business and I'm just going to get an investor. Like, if I ever knew that there was an investor that could help me when my business wasn't in the best of terms, I mean, I would have jumped on it, but I don't know, where do you go to find people like you if you're unable to get an SBA loan like me? I mean, if you're not, uh, like, if you're a white male, they're less likely, I hate to say it, but they're less likely to get loans over a woman, for an
Sure.
SBA kind
A
of a
minority.
thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And a minority might be able to, I mean, you know, I guess it really should come down to the, the P&L, but
No, the merits. Well, listen, I used to joke too. It's like, I'm a white guy born in the US in the 60s. I mean, how badly, if with a little bit of discipline and a little bit of luck, how badly can I screw it up? So I'm in, I'm aware of how lucky I am. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I know there are opportunities for minorities and women, but that's a whole other story. So how do you get angel investment? Really, there's generally some clubs like the Miami Angels down here in South Florida where I live. There's Angel List, which is a global network of venture capital funds that also look for angel investors, right? And if you're of a certain level, you can invest. And there are groups, private equity and angel groups that you can join. The reality is, you have to know where they are. You have to have a good plan, and you go to pitch them. You can go online and say angel network in whatever area you're in. You'll probably go down to their, well, you won't if you have a plan and they go, no, it's not for us, right? You'll get rejections, right? But if there are the few that we think those are opportunities, and you've gone and you've got a good vision, you've got a good team, you've done things in the past, yeah, we want to hear more. And what are you looking for? And what's the terms of the deal, right?
Okay.
How much do you need and how much are you willing to give up with respect to equity, right?
Can I ask you a
So I think
question?
the easiest part is there are groups out there, there are networks as well. And the largest in the country, I think, is Angel List.
And so, okay, quick question. I mean, in the same vein, but angel investing is different, I know, than regular traditional terms. What kind of interest rate would somebody be paying on an investment like that, like a angel loan, if you don't mind me
Well,
asking?
nobody really
Roundabout.
does. Yeah,
Nobody.
there's not really a loan in angel investing. It's really I'm going to acquire a piece of the company for this much money, right? I'm going to get
Oh, okay.
equity in it. If the company does
Do they do
well,
startups or no? Is it
yeah,
an angel? Would they, if you're not proven with, if you just have an idea, but you have statistics, let's say in my case for preschool, I would have statistics done for me, reporting showing that there's a need in my area for that particular business. Would that be something for a startup business that you could take to an angel investor and they'd be willing to do, or no?
if there's a market fit and there's a team, yes.
Mm.
Generally, they don't do loans like the SBA. The SBA is a great opportunity, by the way, but we
Yeah.
don't give people loans. It's a crapshoot. You'll invest like I've invested in, I think, 6 companies. Many of them will go belly up. I will see zero or a fraction if they get money back to their investors, right? So the reality is, if it does well, you could do well, right? If it doesn't, in hindsight, I should have just put the money into an ETF and let it ride, or whatever I put aside for angel investing, because it's kind of a pain in the butt every year when I have tax time and I have to get what's called K1s. The money's on the disbursements from the business. They never get it in time. I have to wait. I have to redo my taxes. I feel like I just want to kill someone. So
Uh,
I don't like that element of it. I just thought at the time it was cool. But the reality is, you're betting on a team or you're betting on a concept and you're betting for the future. And if it does well, you could ride that wave. The other thing is, early investors may end up getting diluted, meaning other investors come in and your share goes down. You're a lesser owner of the company and you don't have control most of the time. You don't have control anyway. And that means that they keep diluting you, and they sell the company, and you make a 6 times your money as opposed to gone to zero. Had you gotten more involved, you may have made more. You know there's always somebody with hands out, so it's a tough way to go. Angel investing, it is. I
so
mean,
along that lines, with the risk of it all, pre- you know, putting your mortgage and your home into your business, if you have, like me, I had such confidence in what I was doing and was being told by everybody in my community that what I was doing was great. And it actually is and was really, really good. But putting your family's stuff on the line is a risk. But if you're confident in yourself, your banking systems, they're gonna, more be willing to help you if you're, laying it on all on the line. You know what I'm saying? So just keep that in
well,
mind, I guess.
it's clear to an extent, because I believe in my vision. I think DVD sales are going to go through the roof, but the world has
Uh,
changed. Nobody wants
right, right, right,
DVDs. Right? I mean, I know a
right.
guy who had a DVD replication company back in the day, right? And the internet comes and slowly starts to minimize his orders. And I'm like, you might want to consider a pivot somewhere, right? Now, and the reality is, you may have the greatest passion and drive and vision. And if the business or whatever environment you find yourself in, from economically or, government contracts have dried up in this particular area, there's a lot of reasons why things change, right? And no matter how much passion or vision you have to be aware of the surrounding. I have a great team. I have a great vision. Yeah, well, you know what? The world has changed. And that's,
So true. So true. You know what? I am so thankful that you came on today and I were able to pick your brain. And you really have given me a lot of insight for, putting some things in perspective for business, for moms, for anybody that wants to maybe, they think they want to start a business and they're just not sure. Maybe this is pushing them in the right direction. I'm really excited about AI. And I think that you bringing it up was just, I mean, like chef, hitting myself with chef's kiss. I loved it. hit myself
Yeah.
with my microphone. Sorry. So, can you please tell everybody where they can find you? Maybe if you have some social links or a little bit about like where they can find you if they want to reach out, if that's okay.
Sure. Well, the easiest is probably I have a website called mariethestory.com. And what Marie the Story is, I published a book last summer that now we're developing to stream on TV. Not that that's a business that I would recommend anybody get into. It's a horrible business, both publishing and TV production. But it's a passion I had when I was back in college, 45 some odd years ago. And so now I've decided I have the time and the opportunity. Now, the world is also changing. AI is changing production. And it may, in fact, be that if we don't do the traditional method soon, because we've got a couple of interested parties, but if it doesn't happen soon, I think a year, 18 months from now, we're going to start to see AI TV and movies, AI produced entirely from soup to nuts, which
Right.
is if you're a streamer and you look at it and go, you know what? I can create something for a fraction of the cost and much faster. Why not? It's all about the money,
Right.
right? So the answer to your question is mariethestory.com shows the book that, it's called The Reincarnation of Marie. It shows a little bit about me, has links to my Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, I believe. And then it also has a story on Slip-In, which is the name of the series that we're developing for streaming.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anybody out there who wants to email me at justsaying.net or at att.net. Sorry. My website is justsaying.net. My email is justsaying@att.net. My website will have some information listed about Henry and where you can find him as well if you forget. And I just want to say thank you again for sharing. And I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
Gather around when the sun dips low, talking about the days we used to know. VCR tapes and dial-up tones, raising kids living with achy bones. Leather jackets and big hair days, now it's carpool lines and PTA. Neon dreams turn into schoolyard fights, but our hearts glow in retro nights. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We dance to the beats of the boombox sound. Now bedtime stories echo all around. But deep inside we're the mixtape kings, still fighting life with arcade dreams. Feeding families with a pizza slice.